chant that I wrote called Divine Order. And I hope that once you get the hang of it, you will sing along with me. My life is in divine order. I trust in the divine. My life is in divine order. I listen with my heart and mind, and I know everything is gonna be alright. My life is in divine order. I trust in the divine. My life is in divine order. I listen with my heart and mind, and I know everything is gonna be alright. Let's do that again. My life is in divine order. I trust in the divine. My life is in divine order. I listen with my heart and mind, and I know everything is gonna be alright. I place my trust in God. I place my trust in God. I place my trust in God. Sing that with me. I place my trust in God. I place my trust in God. I place my trust in God. And I know everything is gonna be alright. My life is in divine order. I trust in the divine. My life is in divine order. I listen with my heart and mind, and I know everything is gonna be alright.
And I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable, or find a soft gaze somewhere. Just focusing in on your breath for a moment. Not breathing on purpose, but just paying attention to the natural flow. Knowing that everything is already all right. That we can look at the things that we love and appreciate and see the rightness there. And we can look at the challenges and focus back in on the breath and remind ourselves that everything is already all right. Divine order is flowing through us, to us, for us, and as us, right here, right now. And with the comfort and the security of that knowledge, we go into the silence with great appreciation. As we begin to bring our attention back into the space, if it hasn't already happened naturally, I invite you to invite your shoulders to relax, to drop. There is no need to be in any kind of a defense mode. Why? Because it already is all right. This is a good day. This is a good day. And so it is.
This is a beautiful chant by Eddie Watkins. God is, I am. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. God is, I am. Sing that with me. God is, I am. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. God is, I am. All right, we're going to sing it a little bit faster. I want you to put your bodies and your energy and everything into it. Here we go. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God
Good morning, everybody. It's the regular Unity magic trick. I come in early, I sit there, it's like, oh, there's not that many people here, and then I get up to speak, and suddenly, like, you appeared. It works that way great if you just don't look back. So anyway, I talked to Todd earlier this week, and he asked if I had any requests of music, and I used to be a hired church singer in religious science churches when I lived in Los Angeles, and I always found that it worked the best with the churches that didn't ask for anything and just allowed, we teach that we are all one with God, that, and then there are some ministers that like to use their part of God on the other people, and I'm like, no, you do it, let spirit flow through you and choose what feels right to you. So I've had the blessing of hearing her sing before, but I've never even met her, never spoken to her, and she's just given my message, so let's go to lunch. um, um, yeah, I mean, it really, we're going to talk more into all of this, but that's the message. God is, I am. God is, I am. Try that meditation at some point for yourself where you breathe in, allowing your breath to really become your voice on God is, I am. God is. And that whisper of it, like, our being, our internal being just knows that the second you're whispering, oh, pay attention, this is important, right? And, that's a trick. I'm an actor as well. And on sets, I earned my living for a while doing extra work on TV shows. And there were these certain shows that, like, I would be as close as I am to you. You're the nearest, and I couldn't hear a word you were saying if you were the principal, because they were all talking so quietly, because they learned the power of that smaller voice. And that still small voice is what we all have to work with. That is our own power of that, right? So what we're looking at today is the beginning of a series on the Ten Commandments. And I hadn't really thought about that before. And Todd and I were talking about, and he's like, well, you can do whatever you want. Well, haven't you done, this? And I first thought he said the Lord's Prayer, which I had done a series on before. And then he's like, oh no, the Ten Commandments. And so I learned unity principles from Della Reese, who was a singer and an actress. And when I first started attending her church in Los Angeles, she was still doing the television show Touched by an Angel. And so she has a book that's called Prosperity Commandments. And it's just talking about, they're not like a separate set of commandments. It's saying, hey, if you use this, this helps you really identify and use your own prosperity and help bring it about more easily into your life. We look at something like the Ten Commandments, and I, on Facebook last week, or even a little bit the week before, I was seeing a lot of people that were watching the old movie of the Ten Commandments, and it's like an Easter tradition for them. And when I think of it in those terms, and when I think of it when I was young watching it in reruns myself on TV, it felt very stoic, and it felt very, do this or you're in trouble, and but that's the glory of what we teach in Unity with metaphysics, that suddenly all this stuff becomes about our own consciousness, and it becomes about finding ways to, on purpose, use our thinking and our feeling so that we can benefit ourselves in greater ways, right? And so once I started using metaphysics, well, let me step back further. I avoided the Bible altogether for a long, long time. And then even when I started learning metaphysics, I knew people that within the New Thought umbrella of religious science and spiritual centers for spiritual living and unity and all of that, would kind of stay focused on the New Testament, and I found with metaphysics that often the Old Testament is my favorite to look at. That when I read the physical words on the page, if I were to stop there, I'd avoid it too, because there's a lot of killing in that part, you know. But when you acknowledge that what you're talking about, like killing or shutting down, or your unhelpful negative thoughts, the negative chatter, that sort of thing, you're like, oh yeah, I do need to like rid myself of that. Like, not just kind of set it aside. I need to rid myself of that. It is not helpful now, and nor will it ever be helpful, the negative chatter. So then suddenly I've got this whole other thing that's useful and gets exciting when I look at it. And so it's kind of a fun thing for me to kind of delve into a bit. And I really had not thought about doing a 10 Commandments series, but I'm starting it myself here today, and Greensboro next week gets some version of what I will say to you today. It's, you know, I have notes, but they're really suggestions of things to talk about. I never know exactly what's going to be said, but then this will go on instead of like kind of piling them up together and trying to do multiple ones. I think Todd's going to do the same thing of really taking one per week, because there's rich information in here for us to remind ourselves of, especially when we look at it in the metaphysical perspective of things. So let's look at this, shall we? So let's just look at kind of some of the main pieces, right? The 10 Commandments comes to us in the book of Exodus. Exodus metaphysically represents the deliverance of our highest spiritual thoughts from darkness and ignorance. Darkness sounds like such a word, right? It's heavy, but it just means the lack of light, the lack of spiritual inspiration, and getting us into that place of like, let me not stay fully focused on the bad news on TV, or on something that I saw on the way here, or something somebody said that ticked me off last night. You know, let me acknowledge that those things happened. But I'm not saying that they don't exist. They happen, but they don't get to control me. They don't get to control my thinking. They don't get to control how I participate in life and what I'm going to then put out into the world, right? Because the only thing I can control is my life, my world, my affairs. But if I do it in a way that's positive for me, that's contagious. And so I get to give it out into the world. But I can't give you anything that I don't have. So I've got to spend time focusing in for myself first, in really getting the truth, attaching myself to the truth, celebrating the truth. And as I do that, you know, everybody likes to go to a party. So once you start celebrating, then they're like, wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? I want to do some of that, right? So when we're in that time of like, oh, it just feels like everything's going wrong. Oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Oh, you know, that's where we are like, oh, let me get into my Exodus stage. I'm gonna exit out of this. I'm gonna exit us out of this, right? We're gonna get out of this negative thinking and start thinking of just one thing that I know I can depend on, that whenever I think about that, whenever I see a picture of this, that I can smile. I'm gonna look for some laughter just to kind of lift the spirit up, because you can't be in doldrum and laugh, right? So I'm gonna hop on TikTok and find something just stupid, you know, to laugh at, right? To kind of lift that spirit, to kind of find that new place. And then I'll go use it in other parts of life, in world, right? So that's where these commandments are coming from. Now, commandments, what do they mean metaphysically? The commandments are having to do with the law, or the orderly working out of divine principles. Law sounds, again, like one of these heavy things, but it's simply saying, if then, if I do this, then I can depend on getting my mind, at least in this world, right? I can't really ever, in the human experience, guarantee a result, but life experience can kind of get us into a place of like, it's somewhat likely that if I do this, that this will kind of manifest in life, right? If I, you know, if for me, I just spent a week down in North Myrtle Beach, and there's a bagelry I really loved going to. I live in a small town called Eden. We don't have a bagel shop in Eden. We got a Biscuitville, but we don't have a Bagelville, And I love my bagels. I lived in New York in the 90s. And so I can depend on, if I go to that bagel shop, I'm going to feel a little bit better when I get some of that whole wheat bread and that cream cheese. Like, that's just going to make me a little happier in the day. I will get up early for that. I was setting an alarm to go because I have diabetes. So I only eat whole wheat bread or multigrain bread. Well, they sell out of those first. So I was setting an alarm. And when I'm at home, I only set an alarm on Sundays. But this whole week, I set an alarm to go get that bagel because there's a happiness on the other side. I'm like, I can nap later. Let's go get that bagel while it's available. Let's use our life experience to find our happy. In other words, like I mentioned something like a bagel because there's nothing heavy about life in that. It's just saying, like, if this, then this is something that makes me happy. You've got your own happy. If you go approach your happy, if you go look for your happy, you're probably going to find some happy, right? That's the law. And that is what we call God. Law is just another word for God. If this, then this. So Moses brought us the 10 commandments. Moses metaphysically means the drawing out or the extracting of. That first happened to Moses in the story when Moses was brought out of the river, right, and saved as a baby. Then Moses went and extracted the Israelites and freed them from slavery. So Moses means kind of let's get pulled out of this. Let's get to this other place, right? And if you think of even considering using something like the 10 commandments, it's because you want to get from some place that you're not exactly where you want to be to a higher level, right? And higher level, not meaning, oh, well, down there's bad and up here's good. It's just saying, I want to get into more of my spiritual thinking and use it on purpose in my human experience, right? Like spiritual thinking's not just for meditation. Meditation's a great place for it, but just showing up here, doing whatever you're going to do tomorrow when the work week officially starts for most of the world, right? Like you get to use your spiritual thinking there. I had a job when I first started learning Unity principles that I didn't particularly like all that much. So I would start by saying, let me just say a prayer right now and say a blessing on this. And there were a couple of different jobs. This was when I was living in Los Angeles. One was for a movie producer who yells a lot. And I was like, let me bless this place as I walk in. I'm going to bless the whole building. I'm going to accept my blessing in it. And then after that job, I worked a telemarketing job for a little while. That was my survival job while I was auditioning and that sort of thing. And I was selling extended car warranties. So I would say as a prayer before I got out of I'd get to the parking lot and I'm like, let me pray right now. I've started by saying, let me pray right now that I only sell warranties to people who get to use them. Then one day, I said that prayer for a while. And then one day I was like, that feels unfair to my employer because insurance kind of works on being, in order to have the money to pay out the people they pay and to still exist as a business, they depend on a certain amount of us to buy insurances that we never use, right? So then I shifted the prayer to, let me pray that I only sell these to people who are gifted with the security of knowing that they're protected and that they'll get to use it if they need to, but they always get the blessing of feeling protected. And so I would use that on this awful job that none of you should ever do, right? But do if you need to, a check's a check, right? But during those days, people would say, what do you do? And I'm like, it depends on the day and who's writing the check, So, I would do all these different day jobs and that sort of thing. But I always tried to start using this spiritual stuff. And this was way before being a preacher. I never really considered being a minister. It was never a desire. Sometimes when I run across somebody that I've not seen in years and years, and they're like, oh, what do you do? Like, I hesitate because I know there's a connotation to who and what a minister is, especially in the small town that I grew up in, that I'm like, and so, when I first left Los Angeles to come back home, I came home because my mom was in need of a lung transplant. And so I came home to help caregive for her. And she didn't end up getting the transplant and she made her transition. But I was also blessed with that time that I got to spend with her, right? But before I left, I went up to Della's house and I said, I think I'm going to take minister classes. I'm like, I don't want to be a minister. I just want to know everything y'all know. So what I have to say about that, that prayer chaplain training that's coming up here, you don't have to already have the, yes, I want to be a prayer chaplain, to know everything they know, to get to use that prayer work in a deeper way because you took the time to study it. I'm not trying to trick you into being a prayer chaplain, but you might become one. But you don't have to go get the study and use the information. That's that law. That's the if then. Like if I do a little bit more study in prayer, then I get a deeper use of it. I get to use it a little quicker and easier because I learned some new techniques, right? So this information came when Moses was on Mount Sinai. The second the word mountain is there, when it says Jesus went up, onto the mountaintop to pray, like maybe he climbed a rock. Maybe he just went and stepped away from everyone and closed his eyes and went into prayer. And the second you do that, you go up to the mountaintop, right? And so this happened on Mount Sinai, which metaphysically represents a high place of consciousness where we come into conscious communion with the divine. That we're going to take this time to really connect to the highest part of ourselves, to the best part of ourselves, where love and happiness and joy lives, not independently of us, but within us, as us. It is who we are. It is the foundation and the truth of who we are. But we also have this thing called free will. Gets a lot of us into trouble, that free will thing, right? But it is a great gift because I don't have to use it. Nothing's going to make me use it, use my partnership with God. I can go, be the ball in the pinball machine and just bounce around for a while till I finally figure it out, right? But if you catch yourself in the middle of it, bouncing around, like, just hang on, it'll be over soon. We all know how the pinball game ends. That ball always at some point misses the knocker and it gets to go back home, right? And so when we find ourselves in life kind of knocking around, it's like, let me just hang on. Let me, if anything, if I have the shot to avoid the next time it would knock me back up, I'll avoid it. But otherwise, I already know that I'm all right. I already know that divine order is in place and working. So I'm going to accept the blessings that are coming in this moment that feels like a storm because it's already all right. In the midst of the storm, this is a great reminder that I use for myself often, and I hope it will help you sometimes. On the darkest, cloudiest, rainiest, windiest day, like it was like last Tuesday, was it that way here? It was down in North Myrtle. The sun still, it's not like the sun will come out tomorrow. The sun is always out. It doesn't go to sleep. It doesn't stop shining brightly. We just shift perspective. And you can do that in lots of different ways. Sometimes you can be like, let me go take a nap, or let me just get this day over and go to bed. I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll do it. Or if you've ever gotten on a plane on a dark, gray, rainy day, there's some bumps when you hit those clouds and it gets bumpy and it's a little rocky. And then suddenly you're above it and the sun is shining just as bright as it is today, except right down below, they're like, oh, it's a gray day. No, it's not. That's just a perspective. I got that blessing once hiking in Los Angeles. I was walking up the hill that the Hollywood sign's on, and it was foggy. I mean, it was just foggy. But I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm gonna go ahead and hike. And I didn't even know this was possible, or a possibility that was going to happen that day. So I wasn't doing it for that. I just got the blessing. As I hiked, suddenly I was above the clouds. because the clouds were like sitting down on the mountaintop, right? And I got to the mountaintop. So suddenly I've got this really cool picture that I know that these beautiful white clouds that I'm looking at, that on the other side of them is Burbank, California, and they're just seeing dark gray. And I'm up above it seeing this beautiful white, cloudy, sunny day, right? So that's always available to us. And the good thing about spirituality is we don't have to wait for a weather change. We just have to change our mind to change our lives. And often we need to do that by taking a good breath. Meditation is a great thing. Prayer is a great thing, but you don't have to do a long formal prayer. You can do it at a stoplight and say, thank you, God, that this is already taken care of. Thank you that this thing that's worrying me, that the best part of me is working with me and through me and to me and for me and as me, and we're good. Like that person pulls out in front of you in the car, while you're driving, instead of cussing them out. I got a title that says Reverend, but it comes up sometimes. But I catch myself quicker. And I'm like, I hope they get safely where they're going. I'm not in as big of a rush as them, so let me pull back, right? Let me remind myself. Look, I'm no psychic, but when I leave here, I've got a 4+ hour drive home to Eden today. Probably going to run across one of those people. So I'm going to prepare myself now to let me bless them as I go along. And as I bless them, I get to bless me, because I can't give them a blessing without it coming up through me and out. I can't give you any love without cooking up the thought of love in me and then loving out. So anything I give you, I get it first. Same for you. It's all an inside job. So to give it out into the world, you got to recognize it in first. That's the good news. The commandments were being given to the Israelites. Israelites represent our divine thinking, our illumined thoughts. Those illumined thoughts aren't always cooking at full, right? So for us to recognize them and use them, if you look again in the Old Testament, those illumined thoughts called the Israelites roamed for 40 years trying to find their way, right? And they were always right where they needed to be. They just had to get into the perspective of letting themselves get there, right? So I'm looking at this because I've gone off on tangents and it's time to wrap up. But the question is, when we're looking at these commandments that are coming from God, who and what is God? So we say God is love. God is everywhere. God is everywhere equally present. There is no spot where God is not. God is all there is. The commandment, the first commandment is, you shall have no other God before me. That simply said that who am I going to depend on, right? Am I going to depend on the spiritual highness that help get me through every challenge? Or am I going to depend on worshiping my car or my house or my whatever, that the material goods that this world tells us we should strive for, right? You can have all that stuff. The stuff is good, but the stuff is the after effect, never the actual thing we're striving for. I will close with words from Reverend Della that says, I am love. I live by the law of love. Love is now and always will be victorious. I am the love of God in expression. I let God's love guide me, direct me, inspire me right now and forevermore. God's love in me is drawing to me new ideas, new courage into visible daily supply. So I ask you to repeat after me. I am the love of God in expression. I am the love of God in expression. And so it is. I love you. I bless you. I behold the Christ that absolutely is you. And so it is. Thank you.
We are rising up, up, up to a higher place. This one is by Daniel Namod, and I encourage you to sing along with me. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Would you sing that with me? Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. A higher place, higher place, higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. No more forward, backwards. No more backwards spinning. No more spinning around and around. My life is moving. My life is moving ever upwards. My feet are leaving the ground. Here we go. Up, up, up to a higher place. Come on, everybody. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, a higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Downward, no more downward darkness. No more darkness. No more wondering the point of it all. My life is destined. My life is destined for greatness. Oh, for greatness. My soul has answered the call. Here we go. Up, up, up to a higher place. Come on now. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. A higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. Come on now. A higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. I feel